Hi everybody, my name's Ron Fairfield and welcome to 58 Years Behind the Chair. My plan for the next few videos and through my journey is to share with you what 58 years in hairdressing has taught me. A little bit of background: I left school at 16 in a time when the only people who went to university were the kids that went to grammar school. I went to a secondary modern school, just a normal education as far as I can see. And I wanted to do something creative. Most of my peers went into apprenticeships. We all went into apprenticeships, and most of them went into engineering and working in factory environments, British Telecom, technical jobs, vocational jobs. And so I chose hairdressing. And of course, people often ask me, well, how did you get into hairdressing, Ron? And the little joke I always tell is, well, it's a great way to meet girls, and it's a silly joke, but there you go. And the answer is really, I have no idea why I went into hairdressing. It just presented itself. And as a 16-year-old, very, very shy boy who went to an all-boys secondary modern school, they weren't co-educational generally in those days, 1968, I left school and I thought, what am I going to do? I want to do something creative. And so, much to my surprise, as much as anybody else's, I headed off into the city. I grew up in Peterborough, and I went to every ladies' hairdressing salon in the city that I came across and asked for a job. Now, this is a world I didn't know. This was a strange world with strange smells and strange sounds and all these glamorous women working in them, or so it seemed to me anyway. There I was with my Beatle haircut, and I got offered a job. And I got offered an apprenticeship. In those days it was a 5-year apprenticeship, and I worked for a lady called Mrs. Edith Roberts in Peterborough, bless her. And I had, the first year of my training was very much traditional formal hairdressing. We learned all the formal skills, roller setting, and pin curling, finger waving, all those sort of things. It's a very different world then, and this is why I wanted to talk about hairdressing and where I am now. And I'm still cutting hair. I'm 74 and I still love it. So how has it all changed? What's happened along the way? And why have I made the decisions I've made? And I can certainly tell you I've made every mistake it's possible to make in hairdressing, both as a stylist and as a salon owner, as a salon manager, as an educator. And I've worked amongst many amazing hairdressers and worked for many companies along the way. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I've talked about the mistakes I've made, and what I wanted to talk about really was what experience matters, why experience matters. The biggest lessons overall that I've learned, and why I'm sharing it now. And I'm sharing it now because this seems to be the way of sharing information now. Social media is the way to share and to learn and to understand things. And if you're discerning enough to figure out what is true and what isn't, then it's a great source of information. It's amazing. So I thought, what's the easiest way for me to share? I'm not in education anymore. I used to teach in salons. So this is my education platform and my way of sharing my experiences. Now, let's be clear here. I'm not saying I know more than anybody else. I'm certainly not saying that I'm a better hairdresser than anybody else. That is for sure. Skill levels across the industry are much higher, I think, now. But I think the one thing that's lacking, and I said this in my introductory short video, is passion. And I mentioned the fact that David Attenborough's 100th birthday was celebrated recently. And the thing that inspires me so much about him, and I think most people when they view him, is this incredible passion he has for his subject, for what it is he's trying to do, and what he believes in, his philosophy, his love of what he does. And that is something I feel we don't see as much of, and certainly I think it's lacking generally in hairdressing. And please don't think that I'm being down on hairdressing, but I think that a lack of passion has led to a complacency in the industry. There are always those people who buck the trend, who really are passionate and want to do well and want to learn and want to experience things. But I think a lot of young hairdressers don't get that opportunity and are not mentored to understand that. So I'm going to talk about all of those things over the next few weeks of videos that I'm going to put online for you. And if you're enjoying it, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and please also like, because all of these things help me to get more audience so I can share more, which is what my goal is to share more with you. So what is my philosophy? My philosophy, has it changed over the years? Possibly slightly, but my philosophy has always been, do the best you can for your experience, but be open-minded to learn more, to understand more. And every salon I've worked in over the years, I've always learned something new. I've always seen a new approach, a new way of doing things. Even from young 19, 20-year-old hairstylists, they get trained differently to the way that I was trained. So often I'll see a technique that I haven't come across. I think that's really interesting. So I try it, I test it, I work with it and see if it's something I can add to my repertoire of skills. And that is something that I think we all need to do. But more importantly for me, my philosophy was formed by my mentors. I had three really important mentors, I think. The first one was Mrs. Roberts, who I worked for as a young apprentice, who taught me the value of discipline and working towards a standard. The salon I worked in was very formal. I called all the stylists Miss Janet, Miss Susan, and I wore my little grey overall with my beetle haircut and my little tie, and completely out of my depth. But it was a world of glamour in a way. And in those days, in 1968, in the 60s, women largely had their hair done every week, sometimes twice a week. Certainly professional women who worked for a living wanted to look good, so that was really important. If you keep hearing banging, that's where I'm doing this video from where I work, and below me is a gym. So you'll hear the occasional banging, and usually the music's very loud, but it's not today. And then we get conversations in the background as people pass by. So my first mentor was Mrs. Edith Roberts. Then my second mentor was Charles Roberts, who I'm still in touch with. Charles did his training at London College of Fashion. In those days you could do that. And he came back from his 3 years at London College of Fashion, full of the new ideas from in London. He did work experience at Sassoons, his friends worked at Sassoons, and he came back and his mother helped him open one of the first unisex, weird name, wasn't it? But we called it unisex salons in Peterborough at the time, where we did a collection of men and women. And styling was a mix between traditional hairdressing and all of the new cuts and styling and blow drying that he'd learned in London. So he was my mentor. He was a bit out there at the time. He laughed when he hears me say that. He pushed the boundaries. He was very generous. He was a generous man. And he shared his knowledge with me openly, even though he's only a few years older than me. But his mentorship went far beyond that. He exposed me to the new music that was happening at the time, music I'd never heard of, the culture I'd never heard of, fashion I'd never seen before. Peterborough is still the suburbs as far as London's concerned. And so there I was, my mind was opened, and it was the 60s, so there was all sorts of consciousness, awareness and mind-opening things happening anyway. No, I didn't do drugs. However, he was my second mentor. And my third mentor I have to make mention of is a guy called Leslie Spears. Leslie isn't with us anymore. And a lot of people will know that name, although I don't think he's been given the credit he's due, really, I don't think. And I'll talk more about what he did for the industry later on in the video. So that's really the beginning of our journey. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, please subscribe and like, and please join me as I add more on every week. Thanks very much. I hope you have a great day, whatever you're doing, and if you're hairdressing, keep the passion. Bye.